Hi, this is Chapel.
I'm Kregain.
We're from Fullmetal Gamerz. We're going to be doing a series of different reviews, basically going and destroying, not physically,
Verbally ripping apart and manhandling games and consoles.
and right now we're actually at Game Zombie right on Mill Street in Bristol, Pennsylvania. Thankfully, we do have a place where we can actually come and geek out, in essence. This is definitely the place you want to go to if you ever want to actually see some older type of games. When it comes down to the beginnings of it, whatever your beginning could have been. It could have been Nintendo, it could be, like myself, Atari. Whatever it might be, they probably do have it. So we're definitely going to be perusing through, and thankfully we definitely want to thank Dave and Brandon for allowing us to come by to check out what they have here. And be sure to come by whenever you can to see what they have as well. I'm sure that you're going to find something that you're going to want. And of course, come by and say hi. We're here very often. So first thing we're going to be checking out today is the beginnings of my obsession, which was the Atari 2600, also known as the video computer system. Definitely a great system that actually had come out back in 1977, of which, you know, most people see it, they know what it is, and we're definitely going to be looking at that. So let's go with it. In doing the review, we decided to hit upon 5 different major components of the review itself. Those 5 components was design, accessibility, control, sound, and graphics. That being the case, we have a lot to look at when it comes to the Atari 2600. The machine came out in 1977, and that being the case, there is some things about the design that really show that. Looking at the design, we did go and look at some different things, and we noticed some flaws. One of which is having the controller ports on the back of the machine. Who in their right mind decided to actually go and do that, to put the controller inputs on the back of the machine? Granted, it was a first run, there was nothing like it before. It is the most iconic machine you'll ever see. Anybody who really sees these things knows that's an Atari 2600. That being the case, my own personal review number for that was an 8. And the reason being is because I feel that the only thing that really hurt it in my mind was the controller ports being on the back. Otherwise, it's a wonderful design, having all the switches up front, and the fact being that we're dealing with cartridges. The first removable cartridge was actually a very good thing. The first successful removable cartridge, that is. There was systems previous to this that actually did have cartridges, but these were programs within the cartridge itself that were removable. So it's the first true removable cartridge.
On the next front, we had accessibility. And right off the bat, you got so many ages that, you know, could play this game. The others might have tapped in on it, where you had, you know, you could have infants to seniors playing this game, and that's why I gave the accessibility of the system a 9.5. Despite the pricing issues when it first came out, which was about $200 for the original system, it still deserves a good boost on a score there because, well, it's the freaking Atari 2600. Yeah, you gotta get props. With control, and everybody knows this beast. It's beautiful, but it's also clunky, and it breaks down a lot. You know, if it wasn't for this, the Atari would have probably been one of the most perfect systems of all time. It still is in a way, but you know, when you can hold the controller and there's no, you know, access for a button on top, there's no button on top to begin with, but when you can fit your mitt on it as an adult and feel like you're holding a kid's toy, there's something wrong with the controls. The fact that it can break down, they actually had to make the kit to repair it because they weren't, Atari was so cheap that they couldn't repair it themselves and make a new controller accessible to the customer. They made a big mistake there, and that's why my score is going to have to be a 7.5.
Hey there guys, it's Brandon. I'm usually find me here at Game Zombie pretty much all the time. I, along with the other two, decided to do a little review of the Atari 2600. Next one. Sound. Sound. Or lack thereof. I don't know if you can see this here, but I'm a pretty big fan of sound. And I only give it a 4. Because, let's face it, the dial tone on your phone is much more pleasing to the ear. Which is a low E, by the way. And I'll get angry if I keep talking about this, so I'm just going to move on. Graphics. Graphics, I gave it a 6. While it was, as systems come and go, we always find in the beginning that the games aren't really that great. Some don't stand the test of time, and some do. Now, Atari not having a killer app at first, no one really knew how to program, especially cartridge-based the first time around. No one really knew what to do. Until Space Invaders came around. And that game still holds up today. You can pick that game up and play it, and you might not think about what you're doing, what you see on the screen, but you know what you got to do, and it's pretty clear. But you did have some bad ones, like some famous ports to the system that just didn't work out, like Pac-Man, for example. Anyone who's played Pac-Man on Atari knows that it should have been called something else, because it doesn't resemble Pac-Man at all, and it's very frustrating. More so than wasting quarters at the arcade. So this gave me an overall system score of 7, which I'm pretty comfortable with. Although I feel like I gave it the harshest of scores. I feel more comfortable giving it a 7 than anything lower or higher for that matter. That's all I got.
So we just did the review of the Atari 2600. Between myself,
Me, Kregain here.
and also Brandon, the average comes out to be about 7, which is actually a pretty good score considering the age of the system. Looking at the generation of it, from 1977 to its last generation being the Junior, it definitely went through a lot of changes, and obviously there was a number of different clone systems as well. Which actually comes down to the unfortunate demise of the system. It had a bit of a hiccup back in 1983 with the video game Crash, due to two games that are bane of my existence, being Pac-Man, also known as Bogman. I hate that game. I hate it. It's horrible. I'm a big Pac-Man fan, and that is just, it's not Pac-Man. Not at all. Another game being that you had mentioned.
Oh, you mean the horrifying example of video games involved with movies?
Yes. The beginnings of, if it's a video game port of a movie, it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck no matter what you do. E.T. So looking at the actual system itself, I think a game rating of 7 will actually, since we're at Game Zombie, we're going to call it 7 Zombies. Is actually a really good score.
Shouldn't that be 7 brains?
No, zombies eat brains, and I don't think anybody wants to eat an Atari 2600. Maybe you might, but not me. Be nice to the system. Dude, there's probably like a lot of years of body mark on that.
Wah, wah, wah.
Alright guys, so that being the case, we just wanted to make sure that we wanted to say sign off. Be sure to come by and check out our next video. We're going to be reviewing one of the most well-known games for the system. I'm not going to tell you yet what that is. You're just going to have to come back and check it out. So until then, this is Fullmetal Gamerz, Chapel,
Kregain.
signing off. See you later.